I tried to do other things within the newsroom, and those didn't quite work out well. And that was okay. I was not bitter. I was like, okay, I've tried that. It's not working. Maybe I'm just not meant to do it.
But that's what you're supposed to try.
Exactly.
It's a good thing that you tried.
Exactly. So I think around last year, I was doing some work with Mitch Egwang, and it just allowed me, it was flexible, so it allowed me a lot of time to think and to refocus and to repurpose myself. And I used to ask myself, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do, especially like now in this season? And I've always considered myself a people person. I love to empower people, and I'm thankful for TV because it gave me that platform. So when I speak, I am heard because of the platform that I am given. You know, even if I just posted a question mark on Facebook, there would be response. Like, okay, what are you trying to say? So I thought to myself, how do I use this platform to help other people? How do I use this platform that I've been given as a news anchor, as somebody that people know for good? You know, I'm not going to be a slay queen. I cannot afford to wear the latest jeans and the latest shoes and be a fashion icon. And no offense to those who are doing that, that's their path. So I thought I want to empower people. I want to help people be a better version of themselves. So
how can I do that?
How can I do that? And I love to talk. I like to have good conversations with people, conversations that leave you thinking, I want to do that for myself. Like, I want to change. I want to be better. So I think, but what sort of job is that? Who's going to pay you to do those things? To empower people. So I worked with Mitch for a while, I think for about 6 months. And then before the 6 months were done, I had a friend who was working where I am working, and she told me about this role, and she said, Rachel, I think you'd be perfect for it. So the role essentially is to empower people. So what I'm at Andela, Uganda, that's what I do. I am rather that's where I am. I'm a learning facilitator, and what Andela does is they recruit software engineers or software developers and empower them. They give them skills, they give them resources to be better. In the long run, they are partnered with people, organizations in the US that are looking for software engineers. So Andela believes brilliance is evenly distributed, opportunities are not. So they figured, let's come to Africa and empower young people who are interested in software development and offer them opportunities to work on the global scale, which I thought was a pretty awesome idea. I'm not technical, so what they wanted to do as well with the software developers is to empower them with soft skills, or skills that would help them understand themselves better as individuals and work best in a professional environment. So we facilitate learning in things like stakeholder management, self-awareness, communication, which is my forte, team dynamics. How do you work with teams? How do you work with other people? You can only do that if you have an understanding of yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your insecurities? And that is pretty much what I do. And I thought to myself, yes, this is it.
You know, just listening to you talk about it, I'm just feeling the joy. I'm feeling the joy.
What I do.
Yes, that you're just loving it.
I do. I absolutely love it. I do. And I get to meet different people every month because they're recruited every month. I get to meet different people, different personalities, hear different experiences. So we don't teach, we facilitate conversations. And I was like, how is it that...
So you share, you listen, and you also learn.
And I also learn as well from they're called fellows or engineers. So that's pretty much what I do. That is pretty much what I do. And I cannot begin to say how thankful I am for the opportunity to work with younger, and they're much younger. So software engineers are mostly what you'd call millennials. And on social media daily, people are bashing millennials. Or they don't know how to do this. Or they don't know how to write application letters. Or they don't manage time. Or there's all these things. And for me to be able to hold somebody's hand and say, you don't have to make the same mistakes. You can manage your time. I can help you. Or you can work well with people. You can communicate more proactively or more effectively. It's really not rocket science. You just need to be a bit more organized. You can prioritize your time. Things that we were not taught in school or in university.
You kind of just found your way.
You found your way, you know, worked in all these places, and you just had to be professional. If you didn't know, I don't know, find it on Google or find somebody to ask. But here, when they come in, we're like, no, we're not going to take it for granted that you know this stuff. We want to help you learn. Yeah. And the other thing that I do is to sort of help them learn the culture at Andela. So we have a culture, the way we learn, the way we grow, the way we interact with people. So we sort of orient them in the culture at Andela. And once they start, we do that at the beginning of their journey. We don't assume that they know. They just sort of get in and blend, and life is good. It comes with challenges, but you know that there are people that you can count on.
Okay, and you see them thrive.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because that's the goal, ultimately.
So back to Ben.
Yes.
Your husband.
My husband.
Yeah, my husband. How long have you been married?
We've been married 5 years and a couple of months. So it's going to be our 6th year.
Okay.
Yes.
And you met him back then, but...
Yes, I met him when
Do you remember your first meeting?
Yes, I do remember our first meeting. So I walked into Hannington's office to present my demo.
Your demo.
And he called Ben. He called him and said, oh, come, there's somebody who is interested in doing the news. It's funny, and I don't think I've told him this, but I remember him making a comment. When I was doing the news on the demo, I mentioned another radio station. So you know how in radio that's... Yeah.
It's a crime.
A crime. Who does that? And interestingly, I mentioned KFM, which I think is where he went to after.
Yes.
Anywho, so the demo is playing, and I mentioned KFM in the story. And then he laughed. He's like, who mentions, like, who says KFM from another radio station? I was like, this guy? How could he laugh? He's probably going to watch this. Yeah, so I have told you, babe. I was a bit, like, could he laugh? And he didn't laugh with me. He was telling Hannington. I was seated there in the room. He's like,
right in front of you?
Yes. He's like, who does that? Like, who mentions another radio station in their news? Anywho, that was a sidebar. So yes, I met him. That was my very first meeting. But I used to listen to him. There was even a time I think I listened to him on Sanyo, because he was at Sanyo at one point. Yes, he was at
Sanyo.
I think he was filling in for someone. I don't know whether it was Banji or...
He was program director, but he would once in a while sit
yes.
in.
It was a random Saturday. Also, I don't think I've mentioned this to him. But yes, I was sort of scrolling through radio stations, and I listened to him on the radio. And so that was my first meeting. When I started work at Power FM, we started to talk, because Power FM was a very small, I guess, like most radio stations. There's not too many employees with everyone, and was seated in the same space. So we got to talking and talked about life, talked about relationships. I think I had, anyway, that just gotten my heart broken. I was very naive about boys and about relationships. I just didn't know how to navigate those waters. I thought just be nice to the boys and they'll be nice to you. That was my philosophy.
Oh, it doesn't quite work
that way. It doesn't quite work that way. So we talked a lot about life, and then he invited me out to coffee. We did coffee, but remember, like I mentioned, I always had this, he's the boss.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, like there's absolutely nothing that is going to happen here. So we stalled a bit. That was back in 2008, late 2008. It didn't work. And there were a few tears here and there. But I sort of picked myself up again and said, you have a job to do, because we were still working together. So we worked until we had little ons and offs in between there. We were very good friends. And I always wondered, I don't know why this thing can't work.
Why it's not becoming something more.
Becoming something more. And
does that mean that you kind of really knew that this guy?
I did. So for me, in 2008, and this I have told him, for me, when we first met and I thought, okay, maybe there's a possibility. For me, I saw a life. I don't know whether it was me being a girl, but I was like, I think this is it. I actually like this person, and I feel like I see a life with him. I see us growing all together and having children together. Yes. Yes, I'm kind of intense like that. I'm kind of intense like that. So it was a thought. And so when it didn't happen, of course, I was distraught.
You're like, but why?
I was like, but why? I actually saw this happening. Anyway, I picked myself up. I said, okay, I guess it's not. And then in 2012, we started to have the conversation again. He had a son in 2012, and I thought, no, this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, this is not how I kind of envisioned it. So
in your mind, you had your set.
Yes, like meet a guy, fall in love, have,
start a family of our own.
Yes, yes. So when his son was born, I took a back step. I was like, I guess not. I guess this is not really happening. But we kept in touch. We kept talking, and he showed me that it's, he wanted to be with me. And while I absolutely love to hear that, I thought, but there's a child in the picture that this is going to be extremely difficult for me to juggle. But back to I saw a life with him. It was an easy decision to make. It really was. I struggled in the beginning, I think, but when I saw his resolve and commitment, I thought, you know what, let me see where this leads. Let me pursue this. And I started to reach out to some people that I looked up to, my mom, of course, being one of them. What do you think? Would this be a wise decision for me? How would you think I should navigate these waters? And I received some good counsel. I did. And but my heart had already been set to him or towards him. So I said, yes, let's do this.
Okay.
Let's do this. And then shortly after, he asked me to marry him. That was, I think, early 2013. And we planned our wedding for that year in September.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Planned our wedding for that year in September.
Is that part of the reason why you're afraid of telling your dad?
Yes, yes. I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, but now that I have talked about it, yes, there was a lot of drama. Of course, we were in the tabloids, me being a news anchor, and then of course also Ben having his public profile. There was lots of stories that was swirling around. I would prefer not to go back to think about them, but yeah, it was a difficult time. It was both difficult and, I don't want to say exciting, but yeah, tending to like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. I'm getting married to somebody that I actually love and I appreciate, but there was all this weird attention from blogs online and people accusing me of things, and it was exhausting, but I still felt like I am making the right move. Like in my heart, I had peace, I was comfortable. And so now telling my dad, I was like, how is he going to react to this?
Yeah. Okay.
But he was cool. He really was. He was very cool.
You find that your dad trusted you because he'd seen you making all these steps?
I guess.
And following your path, and you were doing all right.
I guess, yes. I guess that was it. So that was one of the reasons I was very worried about telling him. But I did, and I laid it all out. I didn't give him bits and pieces of information. I said, this is who he is, and this is what has been happening.
He probably had an idea.
I doubt it.
You think your mom hadn't a bit like, you know? Okay.
Because I told, she knew, we had our code. So she'd say, okay, I'm not going to mention anything to him. You need to be the first one to tell him. Yes.
Okay.
So tell him, and then maybe I'll pick it up. I'll pick it up later.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And then you have your son.
Yes.
Micah.
Micah. We had a son in 2015. So I conceived 2014.
He's
had him in
4.
4. He's turning 4.
He's turning
end of this
4.
month. Yes.
So was that one of the reasons also you chose to leave television? Was that one of the things that you had in consideration?
Oh yes, being able to spend time with him, because like I mentioned, I was working during the day
and then
at night. So I missed spending time with him. There were days I went back home and he was already asleep. You know, I'll just go and kneel at his bed. I'll be like, oh, I missed you. And there was nothing I could do about it. So yes, in a way it played a role in me deciding, you know what, I think let me leave and find work that allows me to have more time.
So what have you learned about yourself, and you know, with all these changes and what you've been through and making some decisions?
Yeah. I've actually learned that I'm highly introverted. I had no idea. There's a part of me that's very introverted, and I think one of the reasons that I struggled with the limelight and with fame was I really appreciated my space and and I just don't know what to do with people saying, oh my gosh, we appreciate you, and then I have all these followers on Facebook and I don't know what to tell them, because I'm not, while I do social media, I'm not there every day. Like, I'm not posting and tweeting and on Instagram. I'm there, but not all the time. And I constantly felt maybe I owe something.
You felt the pressure?
Yes, like I owe them something to just keep saying things. I remember seeing someone saying on Facebook, you know, that they were talking hypothetically, not about any person in particular, and they were saying, you know, you have all these followers on Facebook and you're either not saying something, I'm paraphrasing, like you're not saying something, or you're not saying something of value to them. And it hit me hard, because I kept thinking, that's me right there. Like, all these people who follow me on Facebook, and sometimes I have something to say, but most times I don't, you know, and just being okay with that. I've also learned that that life is about seasons, that there are seasons when you will be doing something and you'll be thriving at it. And then there are times when maybe it's time for the season to change, and that is okay, you know. I have also learned that I'm very strong. Like, I'm a very strong person. I always thought I am very delicate, and all my emotions, you know, people need to be careful with my emotions. Don't say harsh things towards me. I have grown as a person. I have grown in the sense that the things that would bother me, such that I can't get out of bed, now don't. Like, I'm able to process those emotions and say, Rachel, you are going to be great today. Get out of bed, you know, and be your awesome self. So I've just learned that there is strength in taking time away to reflect and to ask yourself questions, and to ask yourself hard questions, and that there's growth in that. You become better for the next phase of your life, or for the next season of your life.
Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
And we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you for having me.
Truly, I really enjoyed this.